All right, good afternoon. Exactly 12:30 on the clock. Welcome back. It is still the most amazing show on radio. By the way, your number one talk radio station as well. The midday show right here on Lagos Talks 91.3. My name is Paula Chine, and as I mentioned at the start of the midday show, it is time for parenting today. Perhaps you have heard about parenting. You're like, Mama, leave that off. Or you're even making use of the manual that was handed down to you, whether you don't, whether some of the practices do not quite sit well with you. I mean, you feel like it worked for you, so you should pass it on to your kids. The truth is, we live in times that are ever evolving, ever changing, so you need to move with the times. And that's why Parenting Today is that amazing show where a parenting expert and a lifestyle coach as well, family lifestyle coach, has come forward to bring all of the much needed knowledge and ideas to share with us in her bid to help us. I'm talking about the CEO of LagosMums, an amazing lady, by the way, Miss Yetty Williams, who is the pilot on the show. My name is Paula Chine, and I'm the co-pilot. Hi, Miss Yetty, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paula. How are you doing?
I'm fine. All right, Miss Yetty, very quickly, let us kick off with today's topic, which is maximize summer vacations to learn new skills. And I'm thinking when it comes to summer vacations and new skills, I'm trying to reconcile if it's the, what we're used to growing up, if you were to go somewhere for summer, you're just traveling, but learning skills, I don't think it was ever in the mix. Nonetheless, it is very important in this day and age. So is that even possible? Is it possible to balance vacation and summer skills? I don't know.
Absolutely. So, I'll break this down into two groups. And obviously the younger children, it's much easier to, keep them active, keep them busy, take them on holiday if you do travel, but not everybody travels. People stay local as well. And I guess aside from they're sleeping, they're eating, they're playing in friends' houses, maybe they're doing some work, they're reading, they're preparing for the next school year. All great. However, as children start to get older, teenagers, the truth is that there's a lot they can be doing over the summer to build skills during the summer months. And the skills don't have to be anything overly complicated. But if we recognize that we're preparing them for a very, very, very different world than the one we grew up in, previously academics was mostly what you needed, right? To do well, graduate with a first class, say second class, upper, whatever it is, and then get a job and work in that job and retire.
Sure.
We're seeing that is not the reality anymore. First of all, very few companies now have any kind of long-term, pension at the end of the time that people can't rely on that anymore. People really can't rely on that anymore. People are not staying in jobs for 20, 30 years like before and then retiring at, 50 or 60 and, the rest of their life is funded by the pension money that comes. That's all gone. What we have now is something more called portfolio of career, the career portfolio, which basically means people tend to do many different jobs today. The average child in primary school today, there's some research that say they'll probably change career paths, nothing less than 5 times. So not just jobs, but career paths itself. So that means as a whole career, you are shifting it. You might have started out thinking you're a doctor, and the next thing you go and you're, a podcaster. Then maybe after that you move into media. So that is really what is happening. So that means that there are certain skills now that people need to have that can take them through all these different stages of life that we are currently facing. So summer is a good time because when children are in school, most of them are still focused on what I just need to get good grades and I need to pass in school. True. However, the summer for teenagers is very, very useful for them to use that to learn skills that they can continue to develop in. And if they want, they can even use it to start to earn. Right? So imagine a 15-year-old, for example, who has learned the skill of, I'm just going to say maybe video editing. And they get 1 or 2 clients that they start working for. They build a portfolio around the fact that, I have this client. Doesn't matter if the client is an auntie, a sister. So far as a client that you can call a client that you served, You were creating videos for them. You are saving all of that somewhere on social media. You have a portfolio. You do that for 2 years, 3 years. By the time that child, for example, is graduating from university and wants to show experience, right, that they've had some kind of experience, they have something to show. So I think as parents, we ourselves need to reorientate our mindset, which is these skills these children learn. We don't know how it will come in, but we know for a fact that a child who's graduating university, for example, today, or even finishing high school, and has experience that they can show us skills, actual skills. It's not a skill to say I'm good in maths and English. Do you know what I mean? That's not a skill. That's your academics. But then you tell me you have another skill that you took the time to develop on your own. Potentially, maybe you then even have clients that you can show you use this skill for. When they are looking for jobs, who do you think is more likely to be hired?
Wow. Of course, the one with the skills.
Exactly, because that also tells me as a potential employer that this is somebody who is innovative, who didn't just sit down on holiday and just be eating popcorn and watching TikTok videos.
True, very true.
Of course, they took the time to learn a skill. And because the world is actually more demanding, more competitive than it was before, we can't carry last door and just say, oh, it's holiday, let my child just be sleeping. Let them learn something. Even if it's one skill and then they can develop that skill, it is so important. And we are seeing that when people are hiring, talking to HR managers, heads of companies, they need people that are coming ready to think out of the box. So nobody hires an entry level now who tells me, oh, I don't understand social media. Oh, I don't know how to do simple edits. Oh, I don't know how to post. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with that. You mean all you can do is just pure traditional marketing, for example, but you don't know how to use social media? I'm sorry, I can't hire you. So I will summarize with that to just say the world as a whole has changed. The skills that are being celebrated and are being looked at positively in the workplace is no more just somebody who got a 4.0 or is very good in math and English. They are looking at skills. And the next part of this conversation, we can move on into what are some of those skills that companies are actually looking for. How can teenagers start to develop those easily right from their living room or their house?
Oh, wow. That's amazing, Miss Yetty. Now, I know you mentioned skills and acquiring skills. If I may ask, when it comes to these children, are there skills that children should have in accordance to their ages? Like maybe it starts from when they're a certain age or as they grow, no matter how young they are, they could acquire skills, even if it doesn't have to be something complex.
So skills are something that are lifelong and you continue to develop. If you look at the World Economic Forum, for example, they continue to carry out research on a global level, seeing how things are changing in terms of the future of work, the workplace, what hiring managers are looking for, the type of people that are coming into the workspace and those that succeed. And if you look at that, there's been a big shift from pure technical skills to much more skills that are things like critical thinking, teamwork. Before, thinking out of the box was seen as a special additional feature or skill that person can really think out of the box. Guess what? Now, everybody's expected to think out of the box. Also, because we're in the knowledge age, we have access to technology. Before you add AI. So to have somebody today who's still very myopic or doesn't know how to think of many multiple inputs and come up with unique ideas is not going to do very well in a company. So if you look at it, what are the skills our children need for the future? It's not for today, but for the future. Critical skills is critical and important. And that is something any child can start to learn from a young age. So when a child brings a problem to you, one thing parents can do is ask them what they think about how to solve it.
Wow, really? No matter how young they are?
No matter how young they are, so far they can speak.
Wow. Okay.
When they come to you and they seem frustrated about the situation, calm them down and say, okay, yeah, try it. That's an example of critical thinking. Try. Let them try. Right? Sometimes parents are so quick to want to solve problems for children. And when you continue to do that, you reduce the child's ability to think about how to solve problems, so that when the problems get more challenging as they get older, their first thought is not a fixed mindset of, I can't do this. Their first thought is a growth mindset of, let me try one or two things to see if I can do this. And then if I can't, I can go and ask for help. Those are two very different children.
Wow.
And you want to have a child who thinks about solving problems, who is innovative. That innovative is not something you just download when you're 20 and it's time to get a job, or 23. You just go and download, it's time for me to be innovative and know how to think out of the box. No, it's something you must have learned along the way. And because we're in a world today where teams are global, so I'm not going to hire you necessarily because I know you, or you're my nationality, or you're from my community. I'm looking for the best, period. And if the best happens to be somebody sitting in another part of the world, but because of technology today, you can hire anybody from any part of the world. Do you see how our children's competition is more than just their local environment? It is global. So we have to be thinking like that. So it's critical skills from a very young age. Every parent can do something at home to help their child think about solving problems, think about solutions, and don't give them all the answers.
What, Miss Yetty? No, you have to give them. But some parents like me, I will say, I'm someone that if I see a child like getting into some form of distress, you just want to end it, as opposed to some children panic and fidget and are anxious. And even if you might give them time to do, what if they just break into like a tantrum, or they start crying, and you don't want all of that? So you're just like, what, let's make this fast. Is that wrong? Is that wrong?
So one of the things I do with parents is when I ask parents, what do you want long term? Do you want to do what is easier? Or do you want to do what long-term has the benefit for that child? What is easier might be in the moment. You are the one who doesn't want to be distressed by the child's distress, right? So you're saying, let me just quickly help the child. Okay. They're throwing a tantrum. I don't want them to cry. Oh, yeah, take. You haven't really helped that child in that moment to learn how to self-soothe, or how to think about how to solve whatever the problem is in that moment. So when you were speaking, what I heard was the parent who's like, oh, I just don't want my child to be, distressed or, upset. So let me just quickly help them. See what you said? You said, let's just quickly, let's make it fast. Fast is not the best case scenario for long term. Obviously, I'm not saying if a child is clearly in distress, that's when you start saying, oh, I see you're in distress. Let's talk about your distress. That's not what I'm saying. Or you have a child who maybe you've noticed they start to get frustrated easily. Then you're not helping them learn how to be strong. They're just saying, I want to just help you. So don't worry, don't cry. That's not going to help that child long term. So you want to start to increase their chances to give you solutions. So let me paint a real life scenario so that it feels real. If a 2-year-old, for example, is trying to open something, and you see that they are frustrated trying to open it, and they are like really struggling, and they're getting frustrated, and tell that child is starting to, maybe the child is a moment away from a tantrum. You can step in there to say, oh, are you trying to open it? The child can probably at 2 or 3 say, yes, oh, what's happening? Maybe the child can model out the words, I can't open it. And you're like, oh, okay, let me see. Oh, have you tried like this? And then you give it back to the child. The child tries a little bit again. Just the fact of speaking to the child, number one, reduces that, tantrum that was coming.
Wow, true, very true.
You slow it down just because somebody has seen it. Oh, what's going on? Are you trying to open it? It's happening. They try again. 2 things can happen. The child can either calmly try again and open it, or if it's something that's actually difficult, you can release it a little bit and give it back to the child and say, try. Do you see what I mean? Versus, oh, God, just give it to me.
Just giving it to them.
Exactly. You just take it from them, open it and say, yeah, take. Yeah, go, Joe, go. Do you see a different scenario?
I do. I see it now.
Exactly.
Wow. Ms. Yetty, very quickly, I want to ask now, are there skills that children at certain ages are expected to have acquired? Like, if they're lacking such skills, it means that, you might hamper their growth or development as they grow older.
A few I think are very important are children who, like we've mentioned before now, that critical thinking.
Okay.
And that critical thinking comes from also the kind of conversations you have at home. When something comes up, you ask them for their opinion. Let them share their opinion, no matter how young they are. They have something to say. Based on what they say, you can say, That's interesting. Take it from there. So that's one. Critical thinking, being part of conversations. Yeah? The second one that's a big skill that children need to learn is that knowing that I don't know it yet.
Oh, that's nice. Important. I like that. Okay.
So you know, I don't know it yet, but I can probably figure it out. Wow. That is a mindset of a child who's like, I don't know it yet, but I can figure it out. Yeah. So that's another big mindset. That willingness to try. You know, just that ability to try. And the reason why I'm very, very passionate specifically about skills and specifically about teenagers in the day that we live in is because of the digital era. Where if we're not careful, critical thinking is not happening because a lot of children are wasting their time passively consuming content online.
Wow.
We can talk about all of this we're talking about, but if you do everything you want to do between 0 and 10, but then at that 13 and up, you know, it's harder to get children to do what you want them to do. You hopefully have done the work where at that age, they are curious. They want to try different things. And even if they are not naturally like that, you as a parent must give them that scenario or give them those opportunities. Otherwise, what we are seeing is teenagers imagine a teenager from 13 to when you finish high school, let's say 19, every single summer or every holiday, summer, Christmas, Easter, all you do is sit down on TikTok scrolling.
Wow, that's not good.
Exactly. Cumulatively, you are killing the ability or the part of your brain that's developing to say, how do I solve problems? What can I do? What can I learn during this time? How can I spend my time more actively, more positively? And that's why I say summer is a great time because it's a longer time. You can help the children build this skill because for children growing and teenagers, it's like building blocks. It's like I'm putting a puzzle together. You know, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. You're putting puzzles together. So every summer, every week, you're adding something else into their toolkit. And a child is learning, okay, if a child likes videos, for example, likes watching videos online, can they create?
Wow.
You know, can they create videos? Can they edit videos? You know, can they go and learn something new? You know, a child must continue learning. And I think that's what we are finding is they must continue learning because today, digital technology, social media is waiting to empty their brain.
Wow. Miss Yetty, I love that you mentioned this. I will just say I had a light bulb moment, if I must say, whereby in our time, I just realized like we all looked forward to doing nothing during the summer holiday. And now, you know, I always thought children during that break, you know, will you hear things like, let their brain rest. Oh, they've had 3 terms of hard work. Oh, let them rest against the new year. And then hearing that they have to learn skills. Could it be that sometimes, you know, if they spend summer learning skills as well, they might be overwhelmed by the time school starts, or it would even prepare them ahead of time and ahead of their peers who may not have done much, you know, as regards gaining skills during the break?
You know, I think it's a mistake to think, oh, let them rest. Like the only learning children do is academic. You know, and I've talked about it before where for me, a lot of things that changed was when I went to the US for university. I was 16, 17. And I remember then, and a lot of my classmates, they had been working over the summer since they were like 13.
Oh,
so while we in Nigeria saying, just rest, just sleep, it's okay. You have worked so hard. These people are learning different type of skills, learning the ability to work, to take orders from supervisors, teamwork, earning. Do you understand? Those are lifelong skills. Some of them over the summer. And I think one of the reasons why I started the summer camp guide in Lagos, when I started Lagos many, many years ago, whereby we're over 10 years old now, was I recognized that during the summer, these children abroad, they're not just sleeping and eating. A lot of them go to camp. Whether they are paying for the camp, is a free camp. Some of them have free camps around them, whether it's their church, it's the YMCA, then obviously there are some that are expensive. So based on your pockets, you can do the one that works for you. But their children hardly ever just sat down and slept all summer. They were building skills. They were doing different things. Depending on the age, they were engaged actively. And that helped a lot of these children. When they come back to school, they would then continue academic. So it's like a shift. But that idea that during the summer, just stay at home and sleep, don't do anything, laze about, I don't think that is not effective long term. And like I keep going back to when I did digital age, which means if a child is left to not do anything and engage properly over the summer, what will they be doing?
Very true.
They'll be consuming just all kinds of content online. So we have to be effective, and we have to really make a plan. But all right, even if it's 2 or 3 things, we'll say, okay, let's these children try this. You will see what works. And then as the child gets older, you will say, okay, next summer we tried this. Oh yeah, next summer, this is what we will do next.
Oh wow! Very quickly, Miss Yetty, if it's a parent who's listening and is wondering, okay, what are the skill sets? I know that you know the best skills, and we might not rush them because children grow at different paces, both physically and mentally. But are there some certain skill sets that, at an age, if a child is lacking thereof, there might be an issue? Like, what are the list of skills we can look out for? You mentioned problem-solving abilities, maybe communication. Are there other skills, like maybe the use of AI or even tech for teenagers, preteens? Is there a list we should probably, for those who might want to go by a list and tick the boxes?
Yeah, I would rather, so let me put it this way. I don't think it's a list to tick through. I think it's to expose them to a couple of things. But with that said, definitely communication is important. And once again, it comes back to this whole digital world we're living in. A lot of children today would rather sit on their phones and message people using their social media apps or whatever, and not talk to people in person. So that is a part of communication, which is why I believe when a child gets out of the house and does something like and that's why I think for teenagers, especially today, try and get them to do some kind of work where they are forced to talk to people. They have to make eye contact. They have to present. Those are skills that no matter the kind of tech that comes in the world, even if AI starts becoming implanted in all our bodies, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it comes to communication, you can never replace the fact that human beings have to be able to communicate with confidence.
Oh, wow.
The other thing is definitely around tech. Oh my goodness, there's no question about it. In this day and age, it's not even about coding. You don't even need to learn to code again like that per se, But being comfortable with technology, which a lot of children today are naturally comfortable with it anyway. So how can you enhance that? And we're quite excited. I'm going to throw this in here because I recognize time. We've partnered with the American Corner in Lekki. And they're having a free camp where children can come into the centers and learn how to create podcasts.
Are you serious, Miss Yetty? What?
3D printing.
Oh, wow.
Graphic design, reading club, programming. So that's what I mean about the fact that, there is an excuse today to say my child has just been on social media all day. Then learning. If your child is something, go and learn how to create a podcast.
Adonis from Magodo says, thank you very much, Miss Lagos Moms. I'm a teacher in a high school, and I feel that these long breaks they take doing nothing makes them struggle throughout their first term. Paula, in our time, you say we did nothing, but we did a lot of summer school learning, and now people barely do that or anything at all.
Yeah, we've talked about it before on this show, the summer slide, right, which is really, we've talked about that when children indeed don't do anything, when they start school, they struggle more to get back into learning and paying attention in class and all of that. So that idea of doing nothing, I don't believe it actually exists where you don't do anything. You're doing something. It's just a matter of what are you feeding your brain with? What are you doing with your nothingness?
So even when we say they're being idle, they're still doing something, but maybe not something useful.
Exactly. Maybe it's not productive. It's not, they're not learning. Back there, maybe there were a lot of academic, just go to lesson. Yes, there's a bit less of that. Just do lesson. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything. And I'm big on skills because in the world that we live in, more children are going to be entrepreneurs than ever before. So this is the time to teach them those skills to become, if they are going to go down the entrepreneurial path, they still need these skills to be able to, recognize what they are good at, to speak out, to create stuff. You pay attention to your child. My daughter did some summer work this summer. And one of the things that she did as a project was to consider who should they invite to podcast for that particular company.
Oh,
and
really?
Research the people, come up with the questions that they will ask each person. Is that not a skill?
That's a lot. That's actually so much.
So we really, this conversation is really for the parents, because if the parents say, you know what, I want my child to do something positive that engages them over the summer. When you start with that, you can now say, okay, what is it they're going to do? What are some of their interests? Then you start to come down and create a plan. Some can be free. Like I've said, I'll drop it at the end of the show, how you can participate in this free one, for example, where children can go and learn real life skills, video editing, graphic design, podcasting, reading clubs, some academics. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. So parents, please, this is a charge to you. This summer is getting close to the end. Yes, we know. However, if you take this on and start to research and think, what can my children do to learn something tangible, where at the end of the summer, that child can look and say, this is how I spent my summer. And when they get back to school, it is easier for them to navigate back into the next class and to start learning.